I watched that Heba Talk ladies video 3 times because I really wanted to understand where she was coming from. And in her video, she made it seem as if she went on some humanitarian aid trip to Palestine. And during this trip, there were Black people in there comparing their struggles to the struggles of the Palestinian people. And in reality, she said that she was on a religious pilgrimage. And during that pilgrimage, Black people experienced anti-Blackness. And instead of taking it out on the Palestinians, the Black people were having conversations within themselves about what they experienced. And she eavesdropped, and then from there she built animosity towards them. She goes on to add these tad bits about how they were looking at murals, and there was this one mural of Nelson Mandela that wasn't painted too well, and under their breath they were making comments about how they can't stand the Palestinian people, and that they were saying Palestinians weren't asking them for money because Palestinians assume that Black people are broke. And the more her video just like devolves into this like anti-Black think piece, I really am inclined to believe that her whole entire video is just made up. And
I don't know what I was expecting from my trip to Palestine, but I certainly did not.
I don't believe a single word coming out of this woman's mouth. Not a single word.
This is why some people are so dangerous to the movement, not only to the pro-Palestinian movement, but also to Black activism. Because if I was somebody else, if I haven't already done so much work for the Black community, if I didn't already have a deep understanding of racial dynamics, this entire experience might have pushed me away from the Black community. But I know that these rotten tomatoes in the community do not represent the Black.
I don't speak for us all, but I do speak for the rotten tomatoes when I say you can go. Consider yourself pushed, shoved. You are lucky that you were able to cobble together a group of Black people to go on that trip in the first place. After you nonsense, never Kamala, vote for Kamala as a vote for genocide people shows your asses last November. Okay? Also, I don't believe you. I don't believe the beggars asking for money incident is the only instance of racism that they experience. I believe it's the most innocuous one that you strategically picked to minimize their concerns. Okay?
Because the way she also goes on into the video to say that she encourages Black people to have conversations. And first of all, thank you, I guess. Thank you for allowing us to have conversations on anti-Blackness. I guess it's only when you feel like it, because apparently eavesdropping on that conversation ruffled your feathers. And then to talk about how you've always been a great ally to Black people, and how if you weren't so intertwined with the Black community and their activism, that would have turned you off to Black people. It's so odd. It's just the crazy thing is that anti-Blackness exists everywhere, yet instead of addressing the fact that anti-Blackness exists and is very harmful and it hurts the feelings of the people that you want allyship from, you get mad at them for expressing how they feel about anti-Blackness.
You know, it's crazy how people always expect Black Americans to show up for everyone else, but when it's time to show up for Black people, suddenly it's crickets. Now, Arabs for Trump are out here complaining, saying Black Americans are selfish, that they don't care about Palestinians, that they only cry when it's about their own oppression. Well, let's talk about this because there's so much to unpack. First of all, Black Americans have every right to focus on their own issues. Do you realize how many years, how many generations Black people in America have been fighting just to be seen as human? And still, in 2025, they are fighting against racism, systemic injustice, police brutality, and economic oppression. Yet, people still have the nerve to guilty trip them because they are not marching for every single struggle around the world. Let's be real. Where were all these Arabs when the Congo was bleeding? Where were they when Sudan was suffering? When Rwanda went through genocide? How many Palestinians stood up and risked their lives or resources to speak up for Africans? How many Arab nations opened their doors wide for African refugees the way they expect the world to do for Palestinians today?
And it's not like you're just disappointed. You were journaling about it. You had to talk to other Palestinians about it. And then you couldn't even do that to the point where you had to get on here and say, I have to talk about this because it's boiling my blood. Like you... Your biases literally stare y'all in the face, but you're so busy on gaslighting Black people on racism and anti-Blackness that you can't even check your own self. You should be more upset with the fact that these Black people came over to your country to embrace and experience the Palestinians, to create a solid foundation of allyship and solidarity. And while doing so, they were met with anti-Blackness. That should rally you up. That should make it hard for you to write in your journal to the point where you have to get on here and speak about it. Not the fact that people are talking about what they experienced. That's fucked up. You're fucked up for that.
Unless we can hear from the black people involved, I do not care. Where are the black people involved? Where are these black people that you're talking about? Where are they? It's been days. Where are the black people involved? Listen, I'm not sure if I missed anything about this story because I haven't seen a single black person involved in that situation come forward and talk about it. So I'm trying to understand, why exactly did you feel the need to put this story out? Why? Let me just remind everybody that nobody knew about this story. She's the first person to come forward and talk about it. Not a single black person involved in that situation came out to talk about this. Why exactly did this woman feel the need to put this story out? Why? It's not like she got called out and she's out here defending herself. No, something ain't right. This whole thing is fishy. I have a strong feeling that this story is way worse than she is telling it. Listening to her version of the story, I can only say this. Either the story is way worse than she's telling it, or this whole thing is made up.
This isn't about lacking empathy. Black people are some of the most empathetic people on earth. History proves that. They stood for anti-apartheid movements. They supported struggles worldwide. But what people are not going to do is guilty trip them into supporting people who don't show that same energy back. And let's really break down what that Palestinian lady said. She said Black Americans went on a mission to Palestine to help Palestinians who are affected by war, to bring aid, to bring support. And while they were there, Black Americans started saying they were being discriminated against by the very people they went to help. And instead of Palestinians acknowledging and saying, you came here to help us, and we should treat you with same respect. Instead of accountability, they turned it around and said, look at these Black Americans, always complaining about being oppressed. No, if someone feels disrespected, they have every right to call it out. Being oppressed in America doesn't mean Black people should tolerate being mistreated anywhere else. Why would you invite someone into your home, into your country to help you, and then make them feel unwelcome? It makes absolutely no sense. You cannot scream about oppression when you're the one oppressing someone else in your backyard. Oppression doesn't become less just because it's happening to Black people. It's wrong. And Black Americans speaking up about their experience in Palestine does not mean they don't care about the Palestinian struggle. It just means that their humanity matters too. Their dignity matters too. It's the entitlement for me. Some of these Arabs really expect Black Americans to drop everything, cancel all their struggles, and cry louder for Palestine than cry for themselves. That's not solidarity. That's manipulation. Solidarity is mutual. You show up for me, I show up for you. It's respect. It's acknowledgement. It's not guilty tripping. It's not shaming. It's not acting like your pain is bigger than mine. So I should shut up about mine. And Black Americans are absolutely right for speaking up in defense of their own. They are absolutely right for calling out the hypocrisy, because you don't get to tell someone how loud or how soft they should scream about their pain. You don't get to measure someone else's wounds against your own. Plus, let's talk reality. How Arabs treat Black people globally has never been some big secret. Anti-Blackness exists heavily in Arab communities, from the Middle East to North Africa, from the Gulf countries to immigrant communities in Europe and America. Anti-Blackness is real. So now Black Americans go to Palestine, volunteer their time, put themselves at risk, trying to help, and they get treated poorly. And when they speak up, they are self-centered. No, that's gaslighting. Let's ask the real question. Why do you think Black Americans were able to recognize discrimination fast? Why do you think their antennas are always up? Because they've lived it. They know the signs. They know when someone is looking at them sideways. They know when someone's treating them like they are less than. And guess what? Being oppressed by the West doesn't automatically make you immune for being a racist. You can be oppressed and still oppress others. Palestinians, Arabs, if you truly want support from Black community, it has to start with real respect. Not just when it benefits you. Not just when you need members in protest. Not just when you need sympathy on social media. It has to be genuine, because here's the truth. Black Americans owe nobody anything. They can choose to support whoever they want, and they have every right to put themselves first if they feel like they are not respected. Helping does not mean accepting disrespect.
I have seen a couple videos addressing this online, and I was just like, let's be part of the conversation. There is a rhetoric and a narrative going on right now that there are a group of black aid workers who managed to get themselves into Gaza, which is currently being bombed and heavily sieged and is blockaded, right? They managed to get in to provide aid, and they were racially abused. Let's put our thinking caps on here for a second. Let's use these, right? Do you actually believe that, or were you just looking for an excuse to be like, okay, well, I don't have to care about them anymore because they're racist? Because once you start weaponizing that as black people, they stop taking us seriously. They already don't take us seriously. And what? Like, Palestinians rode so hard for black people back in 2020 when the rest of the world was telling us that we still don't deserve anything. They taught us how to circumvent tear gas, how to avoid... Like, what? And look, you don't have to be Muslim to support Palestine. There are black Palestinians that live in that country that are having everything ripped apart from them. So if you're so pro-black, what about them? What about them?
Why is it that a black person can't vocalize the racism or anti-blackness they've experienced at the hands of Arabs or Arab Americans without the onus being put back on the black person to fix it? There's always a Heba out there screaming, it's not the oppression of the Olympics, stop putting Western standards on non-Western people. This is basically exactly what happened with Maya and Tory. Someone told Tory, get that Palestinian flag out of your bio if you intend on voting for Kamala Harris. And Tory said, bet. Flag gone. What did Maya do? Did she take the time to talk to her own community about how the rhetoric that was launched at Tory did nothing but harm the Palestinian movement? No. She got on the internet and said, well, if that was enough to take the flag out of her bio, she never really supported Palestine anyways. Okay. You expect black people to accept disrespect. Look inward, all right? Deal with the poison within before you request solidarity from anyone. When that poison seeps out inevitably and we get a whiff of that nasty shit, don't expect us to put gas masks on and stick around for the party. Get the fuck out of here.
And honestly, it's just tiring. Every time black people try to stand for themselves, here comes somebody pulling the guilty card. Here comes somebody saying, well, what about us? But when it's time to talk about black issues, oh, everybody is silent. Everyone wants to say, that's an American problem. That's not our issue. But when it's Palestine, suddenly it's where are all brothers and sisters. Respect goes both ways. Respect has to be consistent. And to the Palestinian lady, you should be ashamed. Instead of uplifting the people who risked their lives to support you, you choose to mock their pain. You choose to weaponize their trauma against them. You choose to spread the same anti-blackness that you claim to be fighting when Israel discriminates against Palestinians. You want liberation? Start by liberating your mind from racism first. You want empathy? Give empathy, because no struggle is more holy than another. No suffering is more precious than another. If you truly believe in freedom, justice, and human dignity, it applies to everyone, including Black Americans, not just yourself. So, to Black Americans defending their own, I see you, I hear you, I respect you. Keep standing tall. Keep speaking out. Nobody has the right to silence you. Nobody has the right to shame you for demanding respect. Nobody has the right to tell you your pain doesn't matter. You have always been expected to carry everybody's battles on your back while your own wounds were bleeding. No more. You are allowed to speak. You are allowed to choose yourself, because at the end of the day, nobody knows the weight you carry better than you. And let me say this loud and clear. Black people are not selfish. They are not self-centered. They are survivors. And they deserve every ounce of peace, respect, and dignity that everybody else demands for themselves. Enough is enough. Anyway, guys, drop a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are about this. And also remember to subscribe, like, and share as well. And until next time, bye-bye.